Welcome to this explainer on Louisiana sales tax permits. Whether you're a local startup down in Baton Rouge or an out-of-state e-commerce brand, getting your Louisiana sales tax permits sorted out is absolutely critical for your business. Let's dive right in.
I mean, think about it. Are you inadvertently risking your entire business right now? So many entrepreneurs assume that, just because they registered their LLC, they're completely good to go. But listen, if you're operating without the proper tax authority, you are walking on some seriously thin ice.
And here is exactly why. $500. That's the amount the Louisiana Department of Revenue can fine you for every single day you operate without a required sales tax permit. Yeah, every day. And that's on top of back taxes, interest, and, worst case scenario, literally being forced to close your doors. Trust me, the cost of compliance is always way less than the penalties for ignoring it.
So, to make sure you steer clear of all that, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll figure out if you actually need a permit. Then, we'll go over the prep work and required docs, walk through the step-by-step application process, look at costs, timelines, and common mistakes, discuss how to maintain ongoing compliance, and wrap up with a quick conclusion and disclaimer.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1. Do you need a permit? Let's figure out exactly who is legally on the hook for this.
To answer that, you really just need to understand one fundamental concept, and that is nexus. In plain English, nexus is just the connection between your business and the state of Louisiana that legally triggers your tax obligations. Simply put, if you have nexus, you've got to collect and remit tax. Period.
Now, Louisiana casts a pretty wide net here. You can actually trigger nexus in one of two ways. First up is physical nexus. This is the obvious one. If you have an office, retail space, employees, or even inventory sitting in a third-party warehouse in the state, you've got physical nexus. But even if you have zero physical footprint in Louisiana, you can still trigger what's called economic nexus. For you out-of-state remote sellers, this hits if you have $100,000 in retail sales or just 200 separate transactions with Louisiana customers in the current or previous calendar year. And heads up, once you cross either of those thresholds, the clock starts ticking. You have exactly 30 days to register.
Okay, but what exactly are you taxing? Well, tangible personal property is a given, right? But Louisiana goes quite a bit further than just physical items. They actually tax digital goods and digital property too, unless it's specifically exempt. And hey, if you're in the software space, pay close attention. Business-to-business SaaS? Yeah, Louisiana considers that taxable software delivered electronically. Even your shipping and freight services are taxable if those charges are bundled right into the sale price.
Moving on to Section 2, Preparation and Required Documents. Let's get your paperwork sorted so we can avoid those massive bureaucratic headaches later.
Honestly, before you even open a new tab to apply, you're going to want to have this exact checklist of data ready to go. You'll need your federal EIN or your social security number if you're a sole proprietor. Grab your legal business name and structure, your physical and mailing addresses, and your projected monthly Louisiana sales. Oh, and please, whatever you do, do not overlook your NAICS industry code. That's the classification code for your specific industry, and actually, missing it or entering the wrong one can trigger immediate application rejections, so definitely have that handy.
All right, Section 3, the step-by-step application process. Let's see how all this prep work translates into the actual workflow. Now, I'm going to be real with you, Louisiana is uniquely complex compared to a lot of other states. It's like a giant puzzle because it uses a dual-level parish-based system. On one side of the coin, you have the Louisiana Department of Revenue, which handles the 5% base state tax rate. But on the flip side, Louisiana has 64 individual parishes, which are essentially counties. And get this, they each have their own tax collector and their own local tax rates. So, as a standard physical seller, you have to make absolutely sure you're registered at both the state level and the local parish level.
So how does that actually work in practice? Well, for standard in-state dealers, it's basically a three-step online flow. Step 1, you register your business structure with the Secretary of State using the GoBiz portal. Step 2, once you get the green light there, head over to LATAP, that's the Louisiana Taxpayer Access Point, to register your state tax accounts and grab your official revenue account number. Finally, Step 3, to deal with those 64 parishes we just talked about, you'll generally use the parish e-file system to manage all your local jurisdiction permits.
Now, hold on a second if you are an out-of-state remote seller. Because of how crazy the parish system can be, Louisiana actually set up a completely separate, dedicated pathway just for you. Remote sellers have to register through the Louisiana Sales and Use Tax Commission for Remote Sellers Portal rather than standard LATAP.
This commission is honestly a huge lifesaver because it means you don't have to individually register with all 64 parishes. You just collect the combined state and local rate, and the commission handles distributing it. It's an absolute game changer for saving time. Just make sure you're logging into the right portal.
Next up, Section 4, Costs, Timelines, and Common Mistakes. You've hit Submit, so what happens next?
Well, first off, some really great news. There is absolutely zero application fee to get your Louisiana sales tax permit. Yep, completely free at the state level. But take a look at the difference in processing times. If you take our advice and apply online via LATAP or GoBiz, you're usually looking at a super fast turnaround, like 3 to 7 business days. But if you decide to go the old school route and mail in a physical paper form R16019, you are going to be waiting anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for that official revenue account number to finally show up in your mailbox. Seriously, do yourself a favor and just file online.
I also want to shine a spotlight on a massive pitfall here. The single most common mistake businesses make when setting this up is successfully registering with the State Department of Revenue and then totally forgetting to register with their local parish tax collector. Remember, if you have a physical presence in the state, that state permit is literally only half the battle. Skipping the parish registration leaves you non-compliant and totally vulnerable to local fines.
All right, moving to Section 5, maintaining ongoing tax compliance. Because let's face it, getting the permit is really just day one.
So, the state is going to assign you a filing frequency. Usually that's monthly or quarterly, depending on your sales volume. And I need you to mentally highlight the number 20. Your sales tax return, along with the actual tax payment, are strictly due on the 20th day of the month, right after your reporting period closes. Now, if the 20th happens to fall on a weekend or a legal holiday, you do get a tiny bit of breathing room. The due date bumps to the very next business day. But seriously, do not miss this deadline, or those late penalties are going to start piling up fast.
And here's a rule that catches so many new businesses off guard. You must file even if you collected no sales tax during a filing period. This is what they call a zero return. Even if you literally made 0 sales, you still have to log in and file a return explicitly stating that. But hey, on a much more positive note, the state actually rewards you for being on top of things. If you file and pay on time, Louisiana gives you a vendor compensation deduction of 0.84%, capped at $750 a month, which you literally just get to keep for doing your job correctly. Not bad, right?
One last compliance tip: keep your files organized. 4. That is the number of years you are legally required to keep all your detailed sales, tax, and property records. If an auditor ever comes knocking, they are going to dig back through those records to verify your Louisiana retail sales, any wholesale exemptions, and marketplace transactions. Oh, and definitely make sure you're holding on to valid resale exemption certificates from your buyers too, because if a certificate goes missing or turns out to be invalid, guess what? You become the one liable for that tax.
Which brings us to Section 6, Conclusion and Professional Disclaimer.
I want to be super clear as we wrap up. This explainer is strictly for educational purposes. Sales tax laws, nexus thresholds, and portal technologies change all the time. You should always consult with a certified tax professional, a CPA, or a legal advisor to make absolutely sure your specific business operations are fully compliant. So, with all of that laid out on the table, how are you feeling? Are you totally confident your business is fully protected? Or do you maybe have some portals to log into today? Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.